Remember to give the video a thumbs up, express your opinions in the comments, and subscribe to keep up with our newest narratives. It was one of those unremarkable afternoons, the sort where nothing appeared to be unfolding, and yet, in its subtle manner, everything felt perfectly in place. The sun sank gracefully toward the horizon, bathing my kitchen in a gentle wash of orange light. As I stood in the midst of brewing tea, the doorbell chimed, cutting through the serene tranquility of the moment. Surprise washed over me as I stood there, momentarily contemplating the notion of simply letting it pass by unnoticed. Ultimately, it was merely the familiar faces of delivery personnel or perhaps a neighbor seeking something inconsequential. However, I did not overlook it. With a deliberate stride, I approached the door, my hands brushing against the fabric of my apron, and swung it open to reveal him waiting on the other side. Ethan, the young man next door, just turned 18. Ethan was far from an ordinary teenager. He was not the boisterous, flamboyant sort that appeared to dominate the scene these days. He stood apart. His demeanor was serene, marked by unwavering politeness and a gentle, kind smile that seemed to warm the hearts of those around him. I had known him for years. When he was just a child, his family settled in, and as the years passed, we formed a kind of easy familiarity. He would greet me from across the street, lend a hand with my groceries if he happened to stroll by, and on a couple of occasions he engaged me in conversation while I tended to my garden. Yet that was everything. I had always admired his respect for boundaries, his maturity for one so young, and the way he made me feel as though I wasn't alone in my own quiet world. That afternoon, however, there was an unmistakable change in him. The typical teenage bravado was absent. Instead, he appeared somewhat uncertain, teetering on the edge of hesitation. "Hey, Mrs. Lewis," he said, his voice softer than I remembered, tinged with a hint of unease. "Would you happen to have any sugar on hand?" I dashed out, caught in the midst of my baking endeavor. A smile crept onto my face, catching me off guard by the unexpected request. It wasn't anything grand, and I had shared sugar with him in the past, yet there was a quality in his tone, a nuance that caused me to hesitate. Perhaps it was the faint tremor in his voice, or the way he lingered just a touch too near, as if anticipating an unspoken moment. "Certainly," I replied, moving aside. "Step inside." He paused for a brief moment before crossing the threshold into the inviting warmth of my home, a space he had entered countless times throughout the years, yet never with this palpable sensation lingering in the atmosphere. I guided him into the kitchen where the aroma of tea began to intertwine with the residual fragrance of freshly baked bread. I extended my hand into the cabinet for the sugar, sensing his gaze upon me for a fleeting moment before it darted away. I passed him the small jar, and as our fingers grazed, an inexplicable jolt coursed through me. "Thanks," he murmured, his voice scarcely rising above a whisper. He lingered for a moment, gazing at the jar cradled in his hands, before he continued, "You know, I've been pondering something." I pivoted to confront him, uncertain of the direction this dialogue was taking. "What thoughts are swirling in your mind, Ethan?" He squirmed in his seat. "It may seem a bit absurd, but I have faith in you, Mrs. Lewis. It seems I find myself at a loss for whom to confide in." His eyes searched for something, perhaps understanding, perhaps reassurance, and I was taken aback by the maturity reflected in his gaze, so profound for one so young. It was a gaze that struck me, revealing that he had transformed from the boy I once saw pedaling his bike along the street. Something profound lingered in the air, a connection that resonated within me in an unexpected manner. "You can talk to me about anything," I said softly, my heart beginning to race, though the reason eluded me. Perhaps it was the intensity of his gaze, or the fragility woven into his words, that stirred within me a profound urge to shield him, to lend an ear with an unfamiliar depth. He let out a breath, a soft, nervous chuckle slipping from his lips. Uncertainty hung in the air as he paused, his gaze locking onto mine with an intensity that demanded attention. "There's this girl, and I'm feeling uncertain about how to approach her. I really hope I don't ruin it, you understand." A surge of relief washed over me, though the reason eluded my understanding. "It seems you have a fondness for someone, don't you?" I remarked, a gentle smile gracing my lips. He inclined his head, a gentle warmth spreading across his features. "Indeed, it's simply that I find myself at a loss. I find myself struggling to articulate my thoughts, and I was hoping you might offer some guidance." Within me, a peculiar blend of empathy and curiosity began to awaken. There stood a young man in my kitchen, seeking assistance with a matter so intimate. And yet it seemed to transcend mere existence. His gaze captivated me, searching for affirmation, a subtle bond forming between us. I cleared my throat, acutely conscious of the profound stillness that enveloped the room. As I started inhaling deeply, I said, "There's one thing I can assure you, be truthful with her. If your feelings for her are genuine, it's essential to demonstrate your affection. Embrace the essence of who you are without fear. The paramount aspect is that. His eyes sparkled slightly as if my words held a significance beyond what I understood. Thank you, he said, his voice laced with appreciation. That is truly beneficial. And yet, even as I offered him my counsel, a part of me remained oddly disquieted. What was it about this conversation that made it seem deeper than merely a crush? Why did I sense an intangible presence, a silent understanding lingering between us? As he pivoted to depart, cradling the jar of sugar as if it were a treasure beyond mere kindness, I sensed an unresolved tension hanging in the atmosphere. A subtle change lingered in the air, elusive and just out of reach of my understanding. I observed him as he stepped through the door, my thoughts swirling in a tempest. Uncertainty loomed over me, yet an undeniable attraction drew me closer to him, intensifying with each fleeting moment we shared. It was an undeniable presence, lingering in my thoughts despite my efforts to push it away. The subsequent days unfolded in a haze, where each instant seemed to oscillate between the mundane and the surreal. My daily routine remained largely the same, yet the ambience in my home felt altered, electric, as if something unsaid hovered in the atmosphere, just out of grasp. Thoughts of Ethan occupied my mind more than I anticipated, more than I was willing to acknowledge. The intensity of his gaze, the subtle quiver in his voice as he sought my counsel, lingered in my thoughts long after. Every time I strolled by my kitchen, memories flooded back of him standing there, so near yet so far away. The gentle warmth of his presence appeared to echo in my thoughts long after he had departed. I endeavored to cast aside the lingering thoughts. He was merely a neighbor, merely a child. He was seeking counsel on matters of the heart, for heaven's sake. It was pure and untainted. Yet, there was an undeniable quality in the way he placed his trust in me, the way his gaze lingered, not merely seeing me as a neighbor, but as an individual with insight, someone who could grasp the profound emotions he struggled to articulate. A few days later, the next encounter unfolded. The late afternoon cast a gentle glow as I settled by the window, cradling a cup of tea, observing the world drift past while the evening light softly dimmed. The house lay in silence, a stillness that felt almost oppressive. It was then that a gentle knock echoed softly against the door. To my surprise, my heart skipped a beat at the unexpected arrival. As I opened the door, there stood Ethan once more, his hands anxiously fidgeting at his sides. "Hi, Mrs. Lewis," he said, his voice wavering slightly as if he were uncertain about how to start this conversation anew. "I apologize for intruding once more, but I have another question to pose to you." I moved to the side, granting him entry. This was not out of the ordinary for him. He had crossed the threshold of my home innumerable times, yet this occasion carried an unmistakable weight of difference. He stood a fraction nearer, his shoulders taut with tension, and an undeniable intensity flickered in his gaze that I found impossible to overlook. "What thoughts are occupying your mind?" I inquired, attempting to maintain a nonchalant demeanor even as my heart raced for reasons I couldn't fully comprehend. He paused, his lips forming a tight line as though he were summoning his resolve. "I'm not quite sure how to express this, but there's something I've been meaning to share with you," he said, his words measured and careful as if he were weighing each one for significance. I arched an eyebrow. "You understand that you can share anything with me, Ethan. What is happening?" His eyes fell to the ground for a brief moment, and I noticed the subtle blush of pink rising along his neck. He inhaled deeply and turned to face me, his gaze open and unguarded. "It concerns the emotions that have been stirring within me." "Concerning you." The words struck me with an intensity one hadn't anticipated. For a fleeting moment, my thoughts ceased to flow, grappling with the weight of his words. He gazed at me, a blend of hesitation and an intensity that seemed intimate, visceral, and strangely foreign. I swallowed, my throat parched. "What are you trying to say, Ethan?" He shifted his feet slightly, an unmistakable sign of discomfort, yet he stood his ground. "It's difficult to articulate, yet you've been on my mind quite frequently. I wish to avoid any sense of discomfort or strangeness, yet I felt compelled to share something with you. For reasons I can't quite articulate, I find myself placing my trust in you, Mrs. Lewis. Your kindness has always been a comforting presence, and I find solace in our conversations. For some time now, this feeling has lingered within me. My heart raced as I struggled to find my balance. The space felt as though it were closing in, his words reverberating in my mind. This was not the outcome I had envisioned. A fragment of my being yearned to dismiss it with laughter, to assure him it was merely a fleeting notion, a whimsical infatuation, destined to dissolve with time. Yet, another part of me couldn't dispel the sense that there was something deeper lurking beneath the surface. I inhaled deeply, searching for the perfect expression. "Ethan," I started, my voice quieter than I had meant it to be. "I realize this may be difficult to grasp, but I am significantly older than you. I understand you're in the process of discovering things, and I want to assure you that this shouldn't be interpreted in a way it isn't meant to be." He nodded, yet I caught a glimpse of the pain that flickered in his eyes, swiftly concealed beneath that well-known facade of composure. "I understand," he murmured softly. I found myself caught off guard. I simply had to express it. "I've held on to this for some time now, and my hope is that it won't alter the bond we share." I took a deep breath, feeling the heaviness of his words settle heavily upon my heart. A fragment of my heart yearned to comfort him, to promise that nothing would shift, that life could revert to its former state. Yet, there existed another facet of my being, a more profound and subdued essence, that felt a disquieting resonance with the depth of his revelation, a weightiness that echoed within me. "Thank you for telling me," I said gently, meeting his gaze. "Your courage is truly commendable, and I feel privileged by the trust you have placed in me." He smiled, a faintly bittersweet smile that tugged at my heartstrings. I simply had to express what was weighing on my mind. In that fleeting moment, silence enveloped us both. The silence that enveloped us weighed more than ever, the unvoiced tension coiling around us like tendrils of smoke. Ethan shifted his weight from one foot to the other, glancing at the door as though he were on the brink of departure. Yet he hesitated. "You're a good person, Mrs. Lewis," he murmured softly. "Your support has been unparalleled, a presence in my life that no one else has matched. That moment will forever remain etched in my memory." The words were straightforward, yet they hit me with an intensity one hadn't anticipated. I nodded, sensing the sharpness of an emotion I struggled to articulate. "Take care of yourself, Ethan," I said, my voice trembling slightly. "And keep in mind, you are not solitary in this journey. There are individuals in your life who genuinely care for you." He smiled once more, and for an instant, the world appeared to tilt. A shift had occurred between us, an unspoken alteration that neither of us could quite grasp, at least not in that moment. He pivoted and strode out the door, abandoning me in that moment, my hands quivering ever so slightly, my heart pounding fiercely. The gravity of that moment hung in the air, echoing long after his departure. It transcended the mere act of confession. It was a beckoning, a call to explore the profound, the unforeseen. Despite my efforts to dismiss the notion, curiosity lingered, compelling me to ponder what lay ahead. Could this alter the course of everything? Would it transform us? The subsequent week enveloped itself in an unsettling stillness. Ethan and I shared brief niceties during our encounters, neither excess nor deficiency. He maintained a courteous demeanor, yet there was an unmistakable air of detachment, and I mirrored his restraint, ensuring I remained at a measured distance. I anticipated a certain level of awkwardness between us, yet I was unprepared for the heaviness it would bring to my heart. His confession hung in my thoughts, a shadow that demanded attention yet carried a certain allure. I had not fully grasped the extent to which he had altered the dynamic that existed between us. I had known Ethan since he was merely a child, darting through the neighborhood with a joyful laugh and a grin that could illuminate any space. I had observed his transformation into a young man, brimming with both uncertainty and promise. Yet now, it felt as though a change had woven itself into the essence of our bond. I made an effort to stay occupied. Tasks seemed to perpetually linger within the confines of the home. The laundry awaits, the dishes linger, and the relentless pile of paperwork demands attention. Yet, each time I entered the kitchen or settled in front of the television, thoughts of him would inevitably surface in my mind. I could still envision his face, the way his eyes had intertwined with mine that day, so vulnerable and exposed. His voice lingered in the air, a soft whisper as he shared the depths of his feelings with me. With every fleeting thought, my heart would race, only to be swiftly cast aside. It was time for me to let go and embrace what lay ahead. He was a youthful soul embarking on the journey of discovering the intricate tapestry of relationships and emotions. I refused to allow myself to become ensnared in a situation that was never intended for my path. Yet, on a particular evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and its golden rays danced through my living room windows, my phone began to ring. The name displayed on the screen caused my heart to freeze in place. Ethan. For a brief moment, I found myself hesitating, puzzled by the reason behind his call. The stillness that enveloped us was almost tangible, and I hesitated to disturb the delicate harmony we had crafted since that moment. Yet, I understood that evading it would not simplify matters. Greetings? I replied, my voice wavering, revealing the tumult of feelings that swirled within me. Greetings, Mrs. Lewis. Ethan's voice crackled through the line, a blend of warmth and familiarity yet tinged with a sense of distance. I trust I'm not intruding upon your time. No, not at all, I replied swiftly, striving to keep my tone light. Hello there. A silence lingered on the other end, a moment of uncertainty that quickened my heartbeat. It was evident that he was in pursuit of the perfect expression. I was contemplating whether I might drop by for a while. I've been reflecting on our conversation, and I simply wish to. I'm uncertain. I suppose I simply wish to engage in deeper conversation. If that is acceptable. A flutter of anxiety stirred within my stomach. This conversation had been lurking in the shadows, a certainty I had anticipated. Yet, as it unfolded before me, I found myself grappling with uncertainty on how to navigate it. Complication was the last thing I desired, yet I found myself reluctant to create distance between us. Certainly, I replied, my tone gentler than I had meant it to be. Join us. Moments later, the knock on the door echoed once more. I opened the door to reveal Ethan, his expression a mix of anxiety and resolve. His hands were buried deep in his pockets, and his posture was rigid as if he were bracing himself for my response. Hey, I said, a smile gracing my lips as I stepped aside to welcome him in. Step inside. He nodded and stepped inside, yet he hesitated to take a seat immediately. He merely lingered as if uncertain of his next step or how to embark on this journey. The stillness enveloping us was dense, awkward, yet oddly close, as if we both grasped the weight of this moment. I've been reflecting deeply on my words from the other day. Ethan began, his voice tinged with tension, and I'm at a loss for words to convey it. Though I am still in my youth, I find myself grappling with emotions that seem out of place. It feels as if a shift has occurred between us, one that I can no longer overlook. I understand that you may not share the same feelings, and I accept that reality. I'm not seeking any alterations, but I felt it was important to express once more, face to face, how much I truly respect you. Your unwavering presence in my life means everything to me, and I wish for it to remain forever. His words resonated with me more profoundly than I had expected. His voice held a sincerity that resonated deeply, and the openness in his gaze stirred something within me. He sought nothing more than comprehension, a simple exchange of words. Yet, the sincerity of his admission tugged at my heart, and I found it impossible to ignore the faint desire within me to utter something further, something that could perhaps provide him with a sense of comfort. I swallowed, my hands quivering ever so slightly. Ethan, I share your desire to avoid any awkwardness between us, I said, my voice now tinged with softness. Yet it is essential for you to grasp that my feelings for you run deep, just as they always have. Having observed your journey through life, I have witnessed the depth of your kindness and thoughtfulness. Your heart is vast, yet you are still in the bloom of youth. I cannot allow myself to engage in something that would not be just for you. He nodded, his face reflecting a blend of relief and disappointment. I understand. I long to voice my thoughts, to express the depths of my feelings to you. I understand that this may be quite a request. We lingered in silence, both uncertain of our next move. The atmosphere surrounding us was thick, as if an unspoken vow lingered, poised for our recognition. I longed to express more, to reassure him that all would be well, that our bond could endure. Instead, I offered a warm smile and gestured to the couch beside me, inviting him to take a seat. You're a good kid, Ethan, I said, my voice slicing through the stillness. I will always take pride in you. He settled next to me, a silent comprehension flowing between us. For a time, silence enveloped us both. Yet within that stillness, I sensed a shift occurring. It was not the conclusion of a chapter. It marked the dawn of a fresh chapter, one where a profound bond flourished, anchored in respect and sincerity. Though we may not possess all the answers at this moment, we are united by a bond of trust. In that moment, I came to understand that this was the essence of it all. As the evening waned and Ethan prepared to depart, he cast a final glance in my direction, his eyes brimming with an indescribable emotion. Thank you for listening, he murmured, his voice gentle. Your kindness means a great deal to me. Whenever I responded, my heart brimmed with fullness. "Look after yourself, Ethan." He smiled and stepped through the door, departing and leaving me to grapple with my own reflections. After days of turmoil, a wave of clarity washed over me, bringing with it a profound sense of peace. Indeed, circumstances had changed. However, that did not imply they had to be unfavorable. Amidst the complexities of life, there remained a certain beauty in our mutual care, and for the moment that was sufficient. The ensuing weeks unfolded as a fragile equilibrium. Ethan and I had rediscovered our cadence, a subdued one, yet a cadence all the same. Our interactions persisted, consisting of fleeting dialogues about the weather, a casual wave as we crossed paths on the street, a mutual smile shared over coffee when he stopped by to borrow sugar once more. Yet this time, it felt distinctly different. The silence that enveloped us had transformed into a profound understanding, one we both recognized yet chose to embrace. As dusk descended and the wind began to stir, I settled onto my porch, feeling the refreshing chill of the evening air against my skin. The leaves whispered softly among the branches, and I discovered solace in the tranquility of the scene. In recent days, an unsettling stillness had enveloped everything, a silence that felt almost oppressive. There were no unforeseen calls, no raps upon the door. Life is progressing, albeit at a more leisurely pace than what is customary. I endeavored to persuade myself that it was ultimately for the greater good. Ethan, brimming with youth and promise, stood on the brink of a vast and unfolding world. At the age of 45, I found myself reflecting on the tapestry of experiences woven behind me, rather than anticipating those yet to come. There existed a rationale behind the unraveling of my past relationships, an explanation for my greater ease in solitude. Yet, despite my efforts to suppress these thoughts, a fragment of my being remained tethered to the bond that Ethan and I had once forged. Out of nowhere, the unmistakable sound of footsteps drew near to my porch. I pivoted and caught sight of him, poised in the threshold. Ethan's expression was serene, but beneath that calm exterior lay an intriguing shift, a profound change that hinted at a depth I had yet to explore in the boy I once knew. "Greetings, Mrs. Lewis." He welcomed me with a gentle voice. "May I join you for a moment?" A smile graced my lips, my heart fluttering ever so slightly at the way he spoke my name. "Certainly. Please take a seat." He settled next to me, our shoulders almost brushing against one another. The silence that ensued held a peculiar sense of solace. For an extended period, silence enveloped us as we observed the transformation of the night sky overhead. The stars shone brighter tonight, a tapestry of shimmering lights that adorned the sky with their serene assurance. "I've been reflecting quite a bit," Ethan remarked after a pause, his voice slicing through the silence. "About everything." Your words resonated with me, illuminating the truth that it wasn't the right moment and emphasizing the importance of turning my attention inward. I pivoted to meet his gaze, offering a deliberate nod. "Have you been prioritizing your own well-being?" I inquired softly. He offered a faint smile, tinged with shyness. "Indeed, I believe I have. I have been attending to various matters. Academia, my destiny." "Indeed, you were correct. It transcended mere personal desire. First, I had to grasp what my true needs were. Indeed, your influence played a significant role in that journey. Your influence has been profound, teaching me much about your interactions with others and your approach to various situations. Your influence has shifted my perspective on life." His words melted my heart. Ethan had always been a contemplative young man, yet when he expressed how profoundly our conversations had influenced him, it felt like an unexpected treasure bestowed upon me. "I'm glad," I uttered, my voice heavy with feeling. "Ethan, you truly are a remarkable young man. Has always resided within you." It merely required a moment of reflection to come to that understanding. Once more, silence enveloped the space, yet this time it felt light and unburdened. It was not an unpleasant experience. A serene calm enveloped us, suggesting that we had both discovered a comforting harmony in the space we shared. "You know," Ethan continued, his gaze locking onto mine, infused with a fresh sense of conviction, I have come to another realization as well. I arched an eyebrow, intrigued. What is that? I'm not in a rush anymore, he said, a gentle smile gracing his lips. It seems I have grasped the essence of patience, allowing events to unfold in their own time. I believe I can accept that. A wave of warmth surged through my chest, and I exhaled slowly, sensing a lightness I hadn't experienced in ages. Excellent. Take your time, Ethan. One need not hasten through the journey of existence. There is a certain elegance in allowing events to develop in their own time. He nodded, and we lingered in silence for a moment more. The evening air was turning brisk, wrapping us in a cool embrace as the temperature dipped. Yet, it was a silence steeped in comfort, a space where words held no need to intrude. At last, Ethan rose to his feet, extending his arms high above his head. I suppose it's time for me to take my leave. The hour grows late, and the promise of an early dawn beckons me to rest. Certainly, I replied, positioning myself alongside him. I appreciate your visit. Our conversations are always a delight to me. He smiled, a comforting warmth blossoming once more upon his face. Indeed, I share that sentiment. I shall catch you later, Mrs. Lewis. Take care of yourself, Ethan, I said, my gaze following him as he walked toward the gate. And keep in mind, there's no need to hurry. Simply embrace the journey of your existence. He raised his hand in farewell, his silhouette diminishing with every stride he took. I stood there for a few moments, watching him fade into the distance, a peculiar sense of peace washing over me. As I shut the door softly and embraced the stillness of my home, it dawned on me that the recent weeks had marked a pivotal moment for us both. Ethan had matured, and so had I. We discovered a path to traverse the expanse that lay between us, an expanse untouched by the shadows of the past and unbound by the limitations of the future. It just was. Ultimately, that was what held the greatest significance. We had both acquired a valuable lesson. The emotional bond was not rooted in haste or the imposition of feelings. It revolved around comprehension, reverence, and permitting events to develop in their own time. Our connection, while transformed from its previous state, had evolved into something more profound, a relationship forged in trust, mutual understanding, and the awareness that we had both matured through this journey. I didn't know what the future held for either of us, but I was at peace with it. Life had a peculiar knack for uniting individuals, and often it was in the most unforeseen instances that the most profound revelations emerged. I found myself prepared to embrace life as it came, allowing each moment to reveal itself, one step at a time.